from shadow, sealed in truth, ancient blood, but faith rooted proof. History whispers, legends pretend. She chose the light where darkness ends. Eyes that see what most can't find. Gift of foresight, disciplined mind. Cross held steady, heart on guard. Truth cuts clean when nights get hard. She reads the silence, feels the room. Past and present start to bloom. Fear don't live where faith stands firm. Another veil about to burn. Welcome to the deeper dimension, where darkness meets divine intervention. Royal blood, but heaven sent. She don't flinch at what's being mentioned. From cold cases to restless minds, she pulls the truth from broken time. Grace and steel, intuition. Step inside the deeper dimension. Duchess title.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello there, Donnie. Hello, Sue. Hello, Steve. Hello, Sage.
Hello.
Okay, for all the people out there just are watching the show, I have some very sad news. Danielle's not going to be here. She's busy at work. So you're stuck with my ugly mug. What can I say? There, the ugly mug, you know. Oh well. But tonight is a special night because we got two special guests. Two. Okay, two for the price of one. We got Steve Ward, and anything you want to know about Mothman, believe me, this man knows about it. And he works at the Mothman Museum in West Virginia. How about that? And then we have Sage Gatto. And Sage is like a Civil War historian. You want to know anything about the Civil War, that's the man to talk to. Plus, here's an added plus, he's a ghost hunter, and he's experienced all kinds of stuff. So anyway, we got Sue McClure. She's going to be watching and talking. And we got Donnie Cho. He makes sure that all the technical stuff is together. And so it's going to be a good show. So anyway, I'm going to start off with Steve Ward. And he can tell us the latest stuff happening with Mothman and anything else he wants to talk about. Steve, go ahead.
Well, I came down from Michigan a few years ago. I've been visiting Point Pleasant for a long time and had been following the Mothman since November 15th of 1966 when that first sighting took place, and it hit the wire services all over the world. So I'm working at the Mothman Museum. Jeff Wansley has created the Mothman Museum back in 2006 when it was in a smaller building across the street, right on Main Street in downtown Point Pleasant, next to the infamous Mothman statue, the majestic Mothman statue, maybe I should say. That was created by Bob Roach. And Jeff also has a couple other stores, the Point Pleasant Trading Company, Bunker 304, a vinyl shop. He's got Mothman Blacklight mini golf upstairs. He's got a Mothman escape room. And there's a great deal of history to see right in town. You can see where the Silver Bridge collapsed in 1967. There's a mural, a memorial, and the 46 names of the people that perished are embedded on the sidewalk. A lot of American history. So what's going on now is we're working up to the Mothman Festival, which occurs every third weekend in September. I believe it's the 19th and 20th this year, but don't trust me, check it out. And the Mothman Festival is a blast. We had over 30,000 people come through last year. It just fills up downtown. On the main street, we have food vendors, we have T-shirts, and of course we've got the regular stores there. And on the road perpendicular the 4th Street where the Mothman statue is. The speakers have their tables and their books. They're very accessible. And the speakers speak on the north end of town at the Trinity Church. They have a nice venue there, air conditioned, and a great auditorium where people can sit. So it's not till September, but we're already, I mean, I know Jeff is already planning the festival. There's so much to do on his end. And on my end, I have to get my monsters, my critters out of the basement that I set up in the TNT area north of Point Pleasant, where we have the Mothman Hayride on Saturday night. And I'm also going to be speaking there, so I'm working on that. And there's just an awful lot to do. And man, September is going to come awfully quickly. And then the next weekend, I have to go out to Iowa. Not have to, I want to go out to Iowa. And I'm gonna MC the Mothman event, but I'm also gonna MC the speakers at the Van Meter Visitor Festival in Van Meter, Iowa, which is just west of Des Moines. And the Van Meter creature was something that was seen in 1903. And Chad Lewis takes you through the week of terror on a walking tour of the town and tells you what people saw and experienced. So I am going to be busy coming up these next few months. You can't forget about it. It's because it's going to just creep right up on you.
Wow. And Andrew Gnome's Trucking Express, he says, yeah, the Silver Star Bridge used to be over by the Railroad Trustee Bridge.
Yes, it was parallel. The railroad bridge is still there, which is kind of off 7th Street. And I live right near there. So I actually live on the same road that the Scarberries and the Mallets were chased by the Mothman on November 15th. Very cool. Yes, the original Silver Bridge was parallel there, went off 6th Street. You can just walk 2 blocks north of the Mothman Museum and see the memorial. And the Silver Memorial Bridge that they rebuilt is about a good mile or so south down the river. And it's a much bigger, stronger bridge. The regulations for bridges changed a good deal after that horrible tragedy where 46 people lost their lives. So, yeah, that's very true.
Steve, do you think the Mothman was a harbinger of doom?
I tend not to think that, although a lot of people do. Some people even think he created the disaster, but I don't believe that either. I think all these things just kind of happened at the same time. As you know, this was a high strangeness area. People were seeing strange lights that were, definitely not conventional craft flying over all the time. There were these rumors of men in black, and there's probably more than one answer to explain those guys. There were animal mutilations. People that saw the Mothman had an outbreak of, some of them had an outbreak of poltergeist phenomena. It was really a 3-ring circus of the paranormal, and can even add the Indrid Cold mystery in with all that. So it was, it was an amazing time when everything happened. I don't believe the Mothman was a cryptid per se. To me, a cryptid is a flesh and blood creature that is simply not proven by science. That remains very elusive. I think there's something else there. I think John Keel, when he wrote the Mothman Prophecies and Trojan Horse and the Eighth Tower, was onto something when he talked about some of these things being temporal manifestations, paraphysical manifestations guided by some kind of intelligence. But he thought these things were a natural condition of the planet, but not necessarily, although Mothman did seem to be physical at times, leave footprints and so forth. It did not seem to be a physical creature per se.
Interesting.
Any possibility of it being like a skinwalker?
Perhaps, if these things, if Keel was onto something with these things manifesting, he called them transmogrifications of energy. One of my favorite words. The only other place I've ever read transmogrification is in Kelvin and Hobbes comic strips. Remember his transmogrifier, his cardboard box? Well, anyway, worth checking out. But he really thought that he did seem to think there was some kind of a intelligence behind it. But he also thought that perhaps some of this, we were co-creating some of this with the general, the sort of the collective unconscious belief system. Because if you follow UFOs over time, they seem to have morphed into different kinds of manifestations. From strange lights that people thought were fairy lights, or even some people thought they were witches riding on a broom carrying their lanterns. It morphs into the airship mystery. Sometimes people just saw lights. You had the mysterious Foo Fighters. You had the ghost planes and the ghost rockets, and then you had the more modern day UFO, like classic flying saucer metallic craft. And now even that has changed somewhat. I mean, that still happens. But Ted Phillips, who was a colleague of Dr. J. Allen Hynek, said that he was finding that a lot of the phenomena now was light phenomena, balls of light that would separate and join together. So Keel thought that perhaps he talked about the reflective phenomena, and that sometimes these things maybe seem to follow our belief systems. So it's still, but that doesn't explain all of it. I mean, there does seem to be a physical component to some of it. So there's probably Keel in later years, even though he rejected the extraterrestrial hypothesis by the end of the 60s, but later on he backtracked a little bit and thought perhaps there was more than one answer to these things, but still being very elusive.
I actually thought that maybe possibly Mothman was completely misrepresented or misunderstood, because it's very possible a lot of times he did try to communicate and it could easily be perceived wrong. Like, if he's trying to fly after you to maybe tell you something or warn you something, but you think maybe he's chasing after you or, going for an attack or something. So when I read about Mothman, I kind of got more of that impression, that he was being more misunderstood.
Well, Linda Scarberry, who was one of the lady, there were two couples that were chased by the Mothman by the Old North Power Plant out in what they still call the TNT area. She saw it several times. She said her impression of it was that she kind of felt sorry for it. She thought it was kind of lost. And she didn't elaborate much beyond that, but she had actually had some kind of sympathy for it. So but then on the other hand, there was a couple that saw it, that claimed that they saw it literally manifest in their bedroom, like an apparition. And and didn't always flap its wings when it took off. The eye shine didn't seem to be eye shine. It seemed to be generating its own light. And some people had missing time when they encountered it. So it's quite a mystery. I kind of laugh when people think they absolutely know what it was, but I sure don't. I don't know what the Mothman was. And John Keel admitted that he never solved the mystery either.
It's interesting that you say that one person felt sorry for it because she felt it was lost.
Yes.
A lot of people theorize that a portal opened up at the TNT area and the Mothman came through that portal. And if he did, then maybe he was lost.
Perhaps. But the other thing to circle back to something Sue said, some of these, if it was whatever the Mothman was, may not have always manifested in exactly the same way. Some people said they just saw a big kind of an ugly bird. That Mothman was kind of humanoid. And then some of these other winged creatures or cryptids that people have reported all over the U.S. and the world, I'm not sure that they're actually Mothman per se. They may be, these things they may come from the same source. Dr. Donald Oben called it the phantom menagerie. I love that. And that they may not manifest in exactly the same way if they're not actually a flesh and blood cryptid.
Interesting. Now I sent you a film clip of Mothman in Sacramento, California. What's your thoughts on that, Steve?
You know what? I haven't watched it yet. I confess.
Steve, I'm very disappointed.
I know. That's demerits already. I'm going to go. I've got a corner over here. I'm going to sit in front of it. I will check it out.
Where's my bullwhip?
Do your worst.
Do your worst.
Oh my God. Well, Mothman is supposedly sighted all over the place. I mean, Chicago, Illinois. They said before 9/11, Chernobyl.
Right. But I'm kind of hesitant to buy into a lot of that. In fact, Richard Hatem, that wrote the screenplay for the Mothman Prophecies, he said that he might have actually made some of that up himself for the end of the movie, because he kind of told his own story. So I don't, I don't know. I mean, a lot of times they say that this thing was seen, but you hear about it after the fact. People aren't reporting it ahead of time. So, and the Chicago Mothman, there are some problems with that. When the sightings first started being reported, I have two sources from MUFON that told me that they were coming from the same IP address, many of them. There's a great researcher named Allison Jornlin who went and dug deep into the sightings, found a lot of problems with many of them because, if you're making up a story about an area, you don't always get all the details quite right. So she found a lot of problems, but she did find a couple sightings that may be legit. And there may be some in that vast area that might be legitimate, but I don't think it's necessarily the same. It may, again, these things may be emanating from the same source, a force or intelligence we don't understand, but I don't think that they're necessary. We had in the 1950s, we had the Houston Batman people were seeing, and it almost looked like some guy was wearing a suit. In the early 2000s, you had the Wisconsin Man Bat, which looked like very much like a bat. A father and son encountered it on the road. It brushed against their window. A really ugly looking thing. Definitely not looking like the Mothman was reported. And when they got home, they were very ill. They were very nauseous, and it took a while to go away. And there's just all kinds of legends of winged creatures and animals that all over the world. So I'm not sure that again, these things may actually all be coming from that same mysterious origin or source, but we can't count on them manifesting and looking exactly the same way.
Are we talking about more than one, or do you think like a whole race? Or do you think that just one Mothman popping up in different places all over the globe? Or what do you think of that?
I don't think so. I think that they're these cryptids. We get all kinds of variants on Bigfoot-like creatures, dog band-like creatures, and winged creatures. So I don't think that they're. I just don't think they're exactly the same thing. But again, they might manifest under the same. Oh God, what do I want to say? The same underlying principles that we just don't understand.
So there might be more than one of itself possible, or just one being of himself. I guess I thought maybe I get the impression that some of these beings, there's more than one, but maybe they have one that's more like a scout, a soldier, or whatever you want to call that goes out of the area and scouts around or looks at what's going on and then reports back. So you're not getting like 10 or 20 floating around the globe.
Well, there might have been more than one. I was down at a event in 2009. The Paranormal State kids that had their show for a while.
Yeah.
They did a Return to Mothman weekend, which was a lot of fun. And so Chip Coffey was there. He said his impression was there were 4 of them, and he didn't elaborate much beyond that. And when the Scarberries and the Mallets saw this thing by the Old North Power Plant and took off, They rounded the corner on Route 62 to head back into Point Pleasant. They saw it standing right by this road sign. Well, they didn't know for sure if it was the same one or another one. So, we just really don't know. We don't know if there was more than one, or how, if I'm right, and if it manifested in a certain way, how it manifested. But again, it was Keel found some odd footprints by the old North Power Plant, and he thought he attributed them to Mothman. And so, and of course, by the way, I want to make it clear that Mothman had nothing to do with a moth. He was dubbed Mothman because the Batman TV show was popular at the time, and some very creative copy editor, who we don't know his name, dubbed him Mothman, and so it stuck.
Hey, Steve, Moon at Noon X says pictures can be projected into the brain using sound. Okay, there we go. Can you see that, Steve?
Yes. Well, in fact, John Keel thought some of these experiences, and he referred to the encounters with Men in Black, might be actually not physical encounters, but illusory, not hallucinations, but somehow this, whatever it is, force or intelligence was manipulating the mind. And so that's possible. And he also pointed out that there were times when people would see a classic flying saucer or UFO and in a group of people, but not everybody would see the same thing. Some wouldn't see it at all. Some people would see a different craft sometimes. So it suggests that there's something perhaps like this individual suggested, that it's being projected into your mind. We really don't know what's going on.
Huh, interesting. With the Sacramento Mothman, that was really interesting because I was contacted by Mark Greer, or Lamont Greer. That was his name. And he's a professional photographer, and he was taking pictures of the Tower Bridge in Sacramento. And as he was putting his camera away, he sees this huge thing that he described as a Mothman, but he knew nothing about Mothman, but that's what it sounded like when he described it. It was perched on top of the bridge, and then it flew off real quick. Anyway, he told me this story, and he says, "Has anybody else heard about it?" And I go, "No, I haven't heard anything about Mothman being in Sacramento." And so I said, "Can I interview you?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." So his interview went viral. And before I knew it, News 10 was over there. Monster Quest from History Channel.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I kind of really thought it was bullshit. Okay, to be honest with you. And something was happening, because later on, 6 other people in Sacramento saw Mothman. So not only did Mark see Mothman, but 6 other people. They even wrote that one person even called the cops. He saw Mothman on the same bridge, Tower Bridge, and he called the police. The police went over there, and they saw something flying away off in the distance that was huge. So there was something in Sacramento, and they believe it was a Mothman. They call it the Sacramento Mothman.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's something going on, definitely.
Well, sometimes these things sort of show up, scare the hell out of people, sometimes leave footprints, sometimes even attack livestock, and then they kind of evaporate. There was that one in it's Illinois, or was it Indiana? The people would start. These people started hearing pounding on their house, and but there was nothing there. Then they would feel something breathing on the back of their neck, And over time, a sort of a Bigfoot-like creature started to manifest. They would see this thing. It was translucent. Later on, it started to leave footprints. At one time, it attacked a bunch of chickens, but didn't eat them. And it was acting almost like a real creature. It's almost like it was phasing in from the Phantom Menagerie or whatever, and then just kind of went away. They never saw it again. So I don't know. John Keel mentioned that in the Eighth Tower, that perhaps these things do just sort of, for whatever reason, whatever fires up or fuels their existence, it doesn't last. It doesn't, and then it just kind of goes away. So it doesn't really have to hide in a cavern or a forest or whatever. It just stops existing in our physical plane.
And Mothman, for all we know, could be a tulpa.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these creatures that haunt and cause people all kinds of fear and trepidation might actually be tulpas created by the collective unconscious,
Right.
like the Slender Man story. Supposedly that was hoax, right? And but then people started to see this manifest. So it makes me remember the movie Forbidden Planet, great 50s flick. And the MacGuffin was you had this extinct race, the Krell, left this vast civilization behind, but they figured out how to create matter out of thought. And but that was their undoing, because what they forgot about was monsters from the id, the dark part of the subconscious. So that's what ended up destroying their civilization, was the silent, the quiet, the secret hatred that these people have sometimes deep within their subconscious. And so at the end of the story, Walter Pigeon doesn't want his daughter to go off with the Earthmen, but he has unconsciously created this sort of tulpa. And if you remember the movie, you kind of see the outline of this beast when they shoot it with their laser beams or whatever. You kind of get this kind of a facade of what this thing looks like. And it was animation done by Disney at the time. It's a really great kind of a provocative movie, but it maybe it does parallel something to do with the idea of the collective unconscious and tulpas.
Moon at Noon actually says we can do things with sound that is actually scary. Nothing stops sound except sound. Also, too, if you remember, too, Moon, is the trumpets of Jericho from the Bible.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and the walls came tumbling down. A lot of people think, and they've done it on the micro level, where sound can move objects. Right. And a lot of people believe that's how the pyramids were built, that they had control of sound and were able to position those blocks to make that pyramid. Stonehenge, same thing. Yeah. And a lot of their old stories say that they were able to manipulate sound to move these gigantic stone structures. So,
as wild as that is, it kind of makes more sense than a bunch of people dragging stones that are from miles and miles away,
and thousands of pounds.
Yes, I know. Yeah. And they probably weren't even getting minimum wage.
And before we go over to Sage here, and also too, if we think of something about Mothman, we'll just go ahead and blurt it out. But Mothman also too, there's a lot of different cryptids that are similar to Mothman. Like you had the Thunderbirds. Tombstone, Arizona, they saw sightings of this huge winged monster, a Thunderbird. Bat Squatch, 2009. Mount Shasta, they spotted Bat Squatch. And what's kind of unusual about 2009, the year 2009, Bat Squatch was sighted in Mount Shasta, and Mothman was sighted in Sacramento. So that's kind of interesting. And Mount Shasta is on the same mountain range as Mount Rainier, where Bat Squatch was first sighted. And Bat Squatch is very, very similar to Mothman. I mean, it has a Bigfoot body, huge wings, and and uh, and has the face of a bat.
Right. I don't think he's as well groomed as Mothman. That's just my personal opinion. But also the Van Meter visitor was more like a pterodactyl with very strange properties. It seemed to have a horn on his beak and also have a light that shone off this beak. And in fact, one of the first times they saw it, they saw this light, just saw the light going across the tops of some buildings, thinking it was a burglar. But then they got a closer look at it, and also at times it would exude a vapor. You could fill in your own joke there, but there was one witness that it kind of gave off this odor, and he had missing time. So it's, we had this, you have a lot of phenomena, entities or whatever, that have some kind of a light on their chest, or they're holding some kind of a flashlight, and you have the missing time. John Keel found that people that were experiencing cryptid sightings and UFOs would sometimes suffer from the same physical effects, thirst, muscle ache, and that kind of thing, suggesting that perhaps they shared a common link. The things that appear different may come from the same source. And Connie Carpenter, one of the early people that encountered the Mothman at the Mason County Golf Course, she saw it take off, saw the red eyes. She had conjunctivitis, which is eye burn, which a lot of people, when they have close encounters with these strange lights or UFOs, contract conjunctivitis, but not so often with a cryptid. But that's what happened to her.
Well, and Digger Dog 6649, he says about the horn, you should listen to Kumbo on Flash of Beauty. Oh, here we go. He found one used and scared the crap out. Huh, interesting. What do you think about that, Steve?
I'm not sure what he means. Flash of Beauty?
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Oh, that's a cryptid channel. Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay.
But somebody encountered something like the Mothman and scared the hell out of them?
Yeah, well, I always thought that when people meet any kind of beings that has a different vibration than what we are used to, that I think it has an effect on the body, whether it can, cause an illness to happen, like enhance, maybe we were already coming on with a cold or a flu or something, or any other type of thing that ails us, and then the vibration just changes it. It can, speed it up or whatever, bring it to the front faster than it would on its own. I think a lot of times these side effects that we get when meeting another being, whether it's Martian, Bigfoot, or fairies, or any other, even extraterrestrial being, I always got the impression, since your vibration is different, and then you bring it on towards us, it gives us a different effect. It's kind of like when you put those massaging, massagers, the vibrating stuff. You feel fine when you don't touch it, but then when you put it on your body, because the vibration is different, it's gonna create a certain effect on our muscle in order to relieve tension, for example. So I would think that meeting other beings is kind of the same thing.
Some people have talked about encounters with Bigfoot, and some people hypothesize that they give off some kind of an infrasound that affects the people seeing them as some kind of a defense mechanism. So I think we go back to the sound idea again. But people have seen, there was a case where two kids in Cadillac, Michigan, they're off in the woods and they see a Bigfoot by a tree, and they kind of hunker down and they just watch it for a while, and it goes away. And then later on, they found out they were missing 2 or 3 hours of time. We normally don't associate time loss with cryptids, but it seems like there's this pattern across the whole spectrum that suggests that much of this might be the same. That doesn't rule out the possibility that, even John Keel thought that, even though he thought many of these things were paraphysical, he thought that some of these cryptids or whatever were actually, in fact, flesh and blood creatures.
Yeah, the lost time would be a side effect, definitely. But that's also a reason why we can't take pictures of them or video record them. Sometimes the vibration is so different that it doesn't proceed because we're out of sync with it. If our cameras were completely in sync wherever they are, whatever they're doing, same field, if we were somehow in the same field, I bet we could get a much clearer picture. But that's almost impossible to get.
But it's like a ghost. Sometimes people see an apparition, they take the picture, and it comes out, if it comes out at all, it comes out as a blob of light. So it's it just suggests that there's so much we don't know and we don't understand about all this.
Yeah, in my paranormal investigations, there was this one house in Marysville, and I took a picture of the house, in front of the house, and there was this huge red orb over on the left-hand side, second floor of this house. I took another picture. That red orb was now in the middle. I took another picture. It was now on top of the stairs. Took another picture. It was in the middle of the stairs. It was right there. And after I stopped taking pictures of this red orb, that's when I saw my very first full body apparition. There was nobody in the house. The occupant was standing right next to me, and we're looking, and I go, "Is there somebody in your house?" And she goes, "No." And I go, "What the hell is that?" And it was a woman in her bathrobe walking from the left-hand side to the right-hand side and just disappeared. And I go, "Holy cow." And the picture when I snapped it, it was a red orb again. So yeah, it was mind blowing. And when that was my very first full body apparition. And when I was a paranormal investigator, I was always hoping and waiting for that next thrill. And usually it never came. It was like the house wasn't haunted or we wasn't getting no evidence. And it was just kind of like boring. But I was always looking for that one thrill of seeing a full body apparition. And I did something like 2,500 investigations, and I've seen only 4 full body apparitions. So that's very, very rare.
Yep. Well, let me give you a strange parallel. Of course, you're familiar with Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and you remember Rosemary Ellen Guiley. She was a friend of mine I met at the Mothman Festival. She told me once that she was there at Waverly Hills, and I forget who the investigator was she was with, but they're looking in the dark, and he says, "Rosemary, do you see what I see?" And she looked and she said, I think it's a gray. They saw something like a gray alien in a haunted sanatorium.
Oh my goodness.
So how does that work? It just kind of shatters everything. And a lot of people have talked about seeing, connecting death and people passing with aliens and that kind of thing. I mean, it's Joshua Cutchin has written a book about that, which I haven't read yet. But yeah, so it's funny, it's cliche, but the more you learn and the more you know, the more baffling this all gets.
It's funny you mentioned Waverly Hills because I've listened to a lot of paranormal podcasts when I'm bored, especially on road trips. And I was listening to one where they were talking about an investigation they did at Waverly Hills. And it was a group of guys that were there. I think it was a public. And there was 5 of them in the one hallway. And the one took the bait and went down the hallway on his own to see if, if anything would come out, happen or what have you. And the 4 people were staring at him, didn't leave their eyes off him the entire time. And about halfway through the recording session, they said that it went pitch black and they couldn't see him. All of a sudden, they saw him stand up, point his flashlight at the ground like he was looking for something, turn and walk into a completely different room. And they all called out like, why did you walk off without saying anything? And he answered from the middle of the hallway, and it wasn't actually him. And they believe that something decided to pull the form of doppelganger of him and just got up and walked away to distract them.
I was there one time. I nothing much ever happens to me, but I was standing in the morgue with a bunch of people, and I felt like a couple fingers brushed the top of my head.
Oh, that's a creepy feeling.
Yeah, but it could have been a bug. I mean, I can't be definitive about some kind of an apparition, but I was briefly alone toward the end of the night on this one hallway, and I thought, no, I'm not going to be a hero. I'm not going to be. I don't want to be in the next missing 411 book, for one thing. So I didn't follow through on that.
Well, Sage, what has been happening down in your corner of the world?
What hasn't been happening is the real question. I live a wonderful life of psychic mediumship, and especially with my ongoing research of the American Civil War. I collect haunted objects, per se. I mean, they're all relics to the Civil War, many of which I have in front of me are from Gettysburg. I have stuff from all over the Virginian battlefields, some from Maryland. I even got a huge collection just recently from the American Revolution. I'm sorry, all over from the Philadelphia area to Trenton. So it's an ongoing passion of mine to learn more about the individual, more so than the battles themselves, because I've been researching this the good majority of my life, and it's kind of gone to the point where now I understand the battles. Now I'm understanding the individual that fought the battle, and that's coming together through these objects that I collect, as I learned from a young age from Mr. Zaffis and his show that spirits can attach themselves to objects. And the one episode I do remember very, very, very well that still, struck home with me was a homeowner in the Sharpsburg, Maryland area dug up a bullet from their backyard that was from the Battle of Antietam. And once they dug it up and had it in their house, they started seeing an apparition of a soldier walking around their house. And once they got rid of the bullet, the apparition stopped showing himself in their house. And that kind of made me wonder if I have lingering soldiers with all the relics that I purchase. And sure enough, I've came to contact with well over a few dozen from my collection. And it's like kind of scary in a way, but also in a way it gives me a sense of peace, because I know I'm helping a soldier move on, or giving them a safe place to be that's not a battlefield where they died. So that's the kind of the outlook I try keeping on it. But recently I've been trying to do more of my mediumship ability with them, opposed to using actual ghost hunting equipment with them. Even though it's really cool to fire up the spirit box and hold up a bullet and let the spirit tell me through the spirit box where the bullet's from, I kind of like to test my abilities and see what kind of visions I can pull from it, or what kind of energy comes through from the said object. Recently, this is the cannon shell fragment that I just recently bought in Gettysburg that came from the Gettysburg battlefield. And it's a smaller piece, but it plays a pretty significant piece, because this was from the first day of battle, which the anniversary is here in 2 days on July 1st. So that was an interesting piece for me that I wasn't expecting to find, because my past trips, everything seems to tailor around the second day of battle in one specific area, the battlefield. And the fact that I just happened to come home with something from what I've been more or less obsessing over this year has been pretty huge. Other than that, we're planning a trip back to Gettysburg over Labor Day. We're going for 4 days. And then in October, I'm making my way down to Richmond, Virginia, and going to get to see some new battlefields that I haven't seen yet down there. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
Sage, you also, too, you're talking about certain objects that sometimes can contain the energy of the past. Well, in 1976 in Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, a lady by the name of Sherry Leard went to this antique shop and purchased a grandfather's clock.
Okay.
And she brought it to her home. And then all kinds of paranormal activity happened. Cabinets were opening and closing. Mm-hmm. She heard footsteps. She felt like she was being touched. She felt like she was being watched. all types of paranormal activity started happening in her house. So she had her priest come by, and the priest looked around the house and everything else, and he says, have you done anything different about this house? Did you do some renovations or whatever? She goes, no, no. She goes, the only thing is I purchased this grandfather's clock, and the activity seemed to start when I brought it into the house. And he says, well, you need to get rid of it, send it back to the antique shop, get your money back, because that clock is haunted. And that's what she did. And her house stopped being haunted.
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely energy can be on something, and your place will be haunted.
Yep. And it's crazy because there's so many of these bullets that, like, I let them choose me. Like, whenever I go to the shops in Gettysburg, there's buckets of them. There's the whole tables full of them. You know, I kind of just hover my finger over them until I feel an electric charge. And the second I feel that electric charge, I pick it up because I know that's one that's meant to come home with me. And I have to be careful with it because that's like in a way of me bonding my energy to the energy of that bullet or the soldier that's connected with that bullet or what have you, whatever it might be I'm bringing home at that point in time. So I don't want to intentionally or accidentally grab something that I don't plan on purchasing. And, you know, in my mind, I'm giving a false hope to, you know, an energy or a being that's connected to that. So I try to stay true to the one that I'm taking home. And it's just kind of odd how sometimes, like, I won't even know right then and there, but I'll just know, like, this has a weird connection. You know, there's something about this that's calling to me. I'll buy it, I'll take it home, and a month or two later, when I finally decide to pick it up and work on it, we'll find out that it came from an area that I've been researching for the past 3 months.
Wow.
So it's just kind of like a, how does that happen kind of thing, you know?
I have a question for Sage.
Yeah.
Have you ever, at one time, my ex-wife and I were in a antique store in Tecumseh, Michigan.
Okay.
And she were in the basement where a bunch of books are. And she passed she was very sensitive. She passed an area where she couldn't pinpoint it exactly. It might have been one of the books, but she got a real negative vibe off it. Do you ever walk into these antique stores and get different impressions from the stuff you're passing or stuff you're looking at or touching?
Most certainly. I mean, the best example is actually the same store I buy all my bullets from, the Union Drummer Boy in Gettysburg, because they have everything they have in their store is authentic to the Civil War. They go around to shows all across the United States and purchase and sell items from their collections and buy other collections. So they're always building and, you know, selling and whatnot. And they have like amputee kits, they have surgical kits, they have medicine bottles, rifles, sabers, you name it, they have it. It's insane. They even have a cannon in their front. They're getting their front display in their store. Like, it's incredible what they have. And there's times I'll be walking through their store and like see something, and like it's just like when those chills that just starts at your fingertips and works up your arm, and I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. And then I'll walk away, and then like I'll feel like an energy like pull me to a certain part of the store, and I'll look to see like what they want me to see, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't have $13,000. That's not coming home with me, but you know, it's still cool to see, nevertheless.
So can objects, just dead objects that are imprinted somehow, can it affect you? Can it affect your well-being? If you're not, especially if you're not aware of what's going on.
Yeah, if you're not aware, it could very well do that. That's why I said, you know, I try not to imprint my energy on something I don't plan on taking home with me, because, you know, if I grab the wrong bullet, that could cause harm to me, because it could be something I'm either not ready for, or I'm not ready to be paired with, or just not meant to be paired with. There's, you know, like specific bullets that you'll see or you've maybe even heard the term bite the bullet. And that came from the Civil War, with them biting down on the mini ball, you know, because there's, you know, lack of anesthesia. And there'll be times that, like, I'll go through these stores and I'll find bullets that you can clearly tell have teeth marks on them. And those ones I stay far away from, because that's a tortured soul that I'm not equipped yet to handle. You know, I can handle soldiers that, you know, have had, you know, severe trauma on the battlefield, or, you know, were killed in action, just don't know that they were killed. Like, I've helped many of those. But when it comes to something like that, that's a trauma I don't think I'm ready to tackle on yet, because that's something that will not only affect me, but it'll affect all the other soldiers that hang out at my house that come here for somewhere to go for that's quiet. So if I bring something home like that, that's bringing agony and screaming and pain, that's going to affect them, which in a full circle is going to affect me. So yeah, I try to stay away from that.
Does it mean that the an entity is actually attached to that physical object?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sometimes they can, like, if I'm like in Gettysburg, and there's always soldiers roaming Gettysburg, the battle took place through town, outside of town, what have you. So there'd be times that, like, I might even like buy a bullet. Like, for instance, this one caught my eye. It's a shot 69 caliber mini ball that would have came from the Union Army. There wasn't really anything attached to this when I bought it. It was just kind of there. It caught my eye because I just recently acquired an unshot one. So I was like, cool, a shot one. That's kind of cool because you don't see these large caliber bullets very often in antique stores and relic stores. And recently, just holding it, like, I can feel like a slight tingly sensation to my finger. So, like, in a way that's kind of telling me that something's attached itself to it to catch my attention. Whether it's a soldier that wants to talk or somebody that was just passing through, that happened to know that, like, what I do, and they maybe attach themselves to this object to stay to be with the rest of the soldiers. So that'd be something I'll have to work with in the future. But it's kind of neat how even just having them out in the battlefield, that's another way that I can get somebody out of the battlefield just by them attaching to the bullet, even if it wasn't relative to them as a person.
Can somebody learn? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. If you see them, thank you. If you see them in like a room or something, if you see like a faint signature of them, like they weren't facing you, if you call them out, do they turn around and respond to you? Like
Yeah,
they're getting ready to talk to you?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy because they're like, I jump scare very easily, so they more or less talk to me through your voice in your head. I don't know what the proper term for that is, but
Psychic connection kind of thing.
Yeah. So like I'll hear them that way, or I'll hear them. Sometimes I'll even hear them call out my name, and I'll be looking like, where the hell are you? Like, I know I heard you, but like they do just to drive me crazy because they know I can't see them. But sometimes especially if it's a new one, I'll see them sometimes, or I'll see a shadow, and I know, okay, somebody new's here. I gotta find time to talk to them. But there are times, like especially when I'm on a new battlefield or somewhere new for the first time, I'll see them walking around, and I'll just call out, be like, "Oh, hey," and I'll see them turn around and go, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can see you. Like, don't be shocked." And then that usually either turns to them coming to me or them running away.
Is it placed full then or something? Or does it feel like there's like 5 or 6 people in the house at one given time and you're just busy going about your day?
Yep, it's funny you say that. That is about actually how many is on my spirit team is 6 people. I have 2 that come and go. So sometimes between 6 to 8, but usually my backyard or my relatives' yards or anywhere that like they know that is a safe place is where they'll camp out at. But I have a squad of 6 that stay with me every day.
Has any of them ever kind of helped you, like, you're trying to work on something and they push an object towards you, like, thanks,
Yeah.
I need that screwdriver kind of thing or whatever?
My right hand's good for that. He'll do it all the time. One
That's
I've had
nice.
the longest since I was 12 years old. He's very good for that. There's actually like he'll like when I'm like connected with someone that I'm like really close with, he'll actually go to their house and like mess with them. And I'll get text message saying, "Get your damn ghost out of my house." I'm like, "Why?" And then they'll explain to me what happened. And there was a night we were on FaceTime and my friend was falling asleep and there was a glass of water like by the edge of the table. Like it was like real close. Like if they just moved their arm, like they would have knocked the glass of water off the table. And they woke up from a dead sleep because they heard the glass slide across the table. And he went there and pushed it to the middle of the table so it wouldn't get knocked over.
Wow.
Just like that's just what happens, but it scared the daylights out of my friend. But I thought it was kind of cool.
So, is this psychometry you're talking about? Okay.
Yep.
And do you use? I thought I heard somebody say you use your left hand, or
He's my right hand. He's always on my right side, and I always call him my right hand.
Okay.
He's the one that's like glued to my side like 24/7, and the other one's kind of around but like afar.
Does he have a name?
Yeah, his name is Jamie. His birth name was Jameson. He was a son of Irish immigrants, and they were from Birmingham, Alabama. And Jamie actually fought in the 13th Alabama through the first half of the Civil War before he was killed at Chancellorsville.
Okay. Awesome. Thank
Can
you.
somebody learn how to do this with practice?
Yes, I'm a firm believer that everybody has psychic abilities. It's a matter of how you unlock them and
Yeah.
how you're willing to unlock them.
Okay.
And I found out, actually, I've had him since I was 12, but I accidentally found out about him 4 years ago now. Just by chance, we were doing a ghost hunt at, actually, you might have heard of it, the Prospect Place Mansion in Ohio. And we were talking to the guy that was the quote unquote bounty hunter there. And we were talking to him through the spirit box. And at one point, my friend just asked, like, "Oh, like, where are you from?" And he responded. And right after he responded, another voices came through going, "Alabama." It was real quick. And we're like, "Now, who the hell is this?" Like, I thought we were talking to this other person. And my friend goes, like, "Are you from here?" And they said, "No." And my friend was like, "Well, then, how did you get here?" And they went, "With Sage." And I was like, "Excuse me?" That was just how I learned that
Tiger.
he's been with me since I was a little kid.
I think if I was hanging out with you and your spirit box, I'd be freaked out. But
Yeah.
anyway.
I would think that stuff is actually cool, and I don't get those opportunities now. I can hear them psychically and stuff like that. I don't get a chance to see them, so a lot of times I'll hear talking, but I don't know who it is, and I have to take my hearing aid off in order to be able to tell the difference of whether it's technology. Because I get these, I don't know. There's something wrong with my hearing aid because I've been getting these voices that are not nice within the
Yeah.
last year, and so when I take my hearing aid off, then I'm completely deaf. Then I can, tell that these voices are natural that will come and talk to me because shouldn't you shouldn't have to need your ears to be able to hear them talk to you.
Yeah. And that's the same thing, like, when I see things through them, it's, like, usually through dreams. So, like, sometimes I'll just hold an object and, like, blank out for a second and, like, daydream and, like, see, like, envision that they want me to see that's related to that said object. So that's kind of like what happened. I was just holding, this cannonball piece. And, like, I just was, like, kind of holding it, like, real briefly. I saw a real quick vision of one of the monuments. I knew exactly where it was because I'm honestly a little bit of a nerd, know that battlefield like it's the back of my hand. But, like, the second I saw that monument, I was like, "Oh, I know where this is from. This is from the first day of battle. That's kind of cool." And then sometimes, like, it'll start out like if it's someone that was attached to that object, I'll, like, see the battle, like, unfold through their own eyes, and then, like, that's how I can kind of put two and two together. So you never know what you're gonna get with
Yeah,
me.
when you held that up, I just saw a whole field of
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
but they were
that's
alive.
yeah, it was this piece would have been right in the middle of the Union line and the Confederate line on the first day of
Yeah.
battle. Because I could see
See, I
the
just saw
monument
that.
to a
Yeah.
bridge from afar, and when I turned around, like, in that vision, I could see, like, where the Union cavalry line would have been, where the main line was, and I looked behind me and I saw the Confederate line. I was like, "Oh, so this was
Yeah,
literally
so
right
you
in
and
the
I
middle."
saw the same thing then. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And, like, one thing I like, I have a whole list of the soldiers' names on my phone, but whenever I talk to one of these guys, whether it's on the battlefield, whether it's at home, or wherever the hell I might be when I'm talking to them, I'll actually go online and research them, and I found their full military records online through national databases. So not only am I, like, just proving that, like, I talked to this person, but I'm proving that this person was real, and it's not just some random name that I'm pulling out, because I can show proof of a muster roll or death sheet or whatever it might have been for that individual soldier at that specific battle that they said they came from.
Also to Shelly Montgomery 3489, she says my neighbor and I got a strong male voice when asked what tribe. We didn't hear until tape recorder playback. He said Mayan. And I'm going to tell you, Shelly, one of my best EVPs, my best EVP, we went to a cemetery that was haunted. And I was in my car. I rolled up the windows. Nobody was in my car, just me. Rolled up the windows, and I took my digital recorder and I said, "Is there anyone here in this car with me?" I play it back and it goes, "I'm right here." I go, "Holy,"
Mm-hmm.
you know what I said.
Yep.
And, and there's no witnesses because I was the only one in that car. But I know, in my mind, I know what I captured on that recorder. and it just blew me away. I said, wow, that damn thing's right in my car. And when I left the cemetery, I go, are you still here? Nothing. Are
Yep.
are you here? Nah, nothing. So I think it's like a little roadblock. They can't go past that cemetery. But I also too want to talk about some negative energy that are on objects. And I actually experienced that before I was a paranormal investigator and I was in college, believe it or not. I was at Sacramento City College, and my sociology class, we had to write this paper. And I said, you know what? I told my teacher, I said, I'm going to write about cults in America. And I actually drove down to San Francisco and I wrote about the Moonies. I actually went to the places. I interviewed the Moonies, the People's Temple, Hare Krishna, Church of Scientology. Church of Scientology, they got so pissed off at me, they actually kicked me out of the building.
Yeah.
Church of Satan, that's where I got in trouble at. At the Church of Satan, I talked to the guy and he goes, did you read the Satanic Bible? And I go, no, I didn't read it. And he goes, you need to read it and then we'll talk again. He goes, but I'm going to give you a little gift. And he gave me a necklace and had Baphomet's goat's head on it. And I said, listen, I was young, okay? Young, dumb, and full of stupidity. You thought I was going to say something else. But but anyway, I put this necklace on and I thought, wow, this is kind of cool, And as I wore this necklace, all kinds of terrible things happened to me. Car accidents totaled out my car, all kinds of stuff, financial, just other things, getting hurt, all kinds of crazy bad things were happening to me. And all of a sudden, I got smart and I said, I think it has to do with this necklace. And so I went to I was born and raised a Catholic. I went to my priest. I said, hey, I think I need to be baptized because I feel like I have an attachment. And we're talking about in the 1970s. And he told me, well, the priest says, okay, read these couple books. And after you read them, I'll baptize you. I go, okay. So I read the books, returned them. And he goes, read these two books. I go, what the hell? I could freaking die tomorrow, I said, I need to be baptized now. So I went and got rid of the necklace, threw it in the Sacramento River, said some prayers. And then I went to a Baptist church. And as soon as I walked in, the preacher looks at me and goes, son, I know why you're here. And everybody's looking at me. They go, get on up here on this stage and get baptized. I go, whoa, okay. I mean, this dude knows what I want. And I get fully submerged in water. And I come out and I feel brand new again. And the attachment left. And that's what I like when I do my paranormal investigations and someone says I have a demonic attachment, I give them a full submersion baptism. And it seems to work. And all that negative energy that was happening to me and all the bad things that were happening to me were all gone. Everything was just like brand new. So yeah, certain objects can carry bad energy. And that bad energy went to the Sacramento River, same place where Mothman was seen at.
It's funny, like how you say with the baptism, that's almost the same way as my spirit team works. That's why I always say it's the power of the spirit whenever you're in trouble or you need like help on a location, whatever. All you have to do is call upon them, and however you feel, your practice is, and that's how they come to your aid. There's been many investigations I've known where the energy has turned to the worst. And I'll just close my eyes and just say, guys, I don't feel safe anymore. You need to come help me. And I give it no more than 5 seconds. And all of a sudden you feel that negative energy just get pushed away. And then to the point where it's quite literally just gone. And I know it's because my whole spirit team, if not the entire army that I have collected, has showed up at once to do good by me since I do good by them. And I've had that happen already. Last year we went to Fairfield County Infirmary, and there was a entity that was attaching itself to my friend's mom, and my friend just approached me and said, if you call for your guys, do you think they come? And I said, well, how many are you expecting? Because if you call for one, they're going to get all of them here. And she was like, well, how many is all of them? I was like, we're talking close to 300. I was like, you do know how many people I've talked to and, my years of doing this. And she goes, well, let's try. So she like started doing whatever she needed to do. So I just set out basically, in essentially a way, a call to arms. And the craziest thing happened, mind you, we're in the middle of Ohio, nowhere near anything significant to the Civil War, nothing. Out of the blue, we start hearing a drum. Like somebody was literally beating a drum, calling soldiers into action. And then we heard a horse gallop by. And then before you know it, the entire property was surrounded by an entire line of soldiers that I've talked to.
Wow.
And I looked at her and I said, do you believe me now that 300 plus are going to show up? And literally, as we were looking, more were appearing and running to the side of where we needed them. And
That's
they were
way
they
better
were
than
able.
security system there.
Yep, they were able to surround the building, and we were able to basically corner the negative entity and get him out of that location and away from her mom, just from calling for them. It was one of the most powerful moments I've ever personally experienced with my own eyes.
Sage, I wonder, have you ever experimented with pendulum dowsing or L rods or anything like that in your work?
Yeah, I use dowsing rods on a daily basis. Mine are actually sitting right beside me.
Okay. To answer yes or no questions, or what? How do you utilize it?
A little bit of both, actually. Sometimes I'll just get the simple yes no questions going with them. I'll ask, hey, are you from this state? Cross for yes. Put out for no. Or if you're from this battlefield, cross for yes. Whatever. Sometimes we'll use them to kind of get specific. So, like, with relics is more or less what I like using them for. Because I'll have a list of battlefields that I've been to, and when I start buying, I don't know what's from what anymore, even what part of the battlefields these relics come from. So I'll just pull one out of the bag and just sit down with my dowsing rods and be like, okay, are you from, whatever battlefield? And they'll say no. I'm like, okay, are you from this battlefield? And they'll say yes. And I'm like, okay, are you from this part? Because that's like kind of like what energy I'm pulling from it. And then they'll say yes. I'm like, okay, cool. You're going off to the side. So, it's just kind of something I use for like piecework as well.
I guess there's something called map dowsing. Have you ever done anything like that? Okay.
Yeah, that's actually kind of how, let me find it. My one artillery shell piece I bought that came from the Antietam battlefield.
Okay.
I actually was able to use my dowsing rods to find the exact point that they pulled this out of the ground.
Have you ever encountered an author, a researcher named Tom Lethbridge, T.C. Lethbridge?
The name sounds very familiar.
A famous British dowser, no longer with us. He wrote The Power of the Pendulum, many other books like Ghost and Ghoul and so forth. I just highly recommend he was just fascinating the way he used a pendulum, just beyond anybody else, just to put that out there.
I don't know if it's my level of obsession or just the fact that I'm a nerd and like to know every little stupid fact about the Civil War. But whenever I buy like artillery shells like this, these things can travel for miles. So it's very hard to pinpoint like where they came from.
Right.
But with the help of the American Battlefield Trust, the National Park Rangers, and just my own personal research and time of going to these battlefields, not only was I able to find out exactly where this shell was dug up at, but I was actually able to find the exact battery that this was fired from.
Wow.
And it was just from kind of drawing a straight line from where it was found to where the area, whenever I hold it and I'll like close my eyes, be like, okay, point me in the direction, and I'll see the angle that I'm supposed to be looking for. And then I'll take what I see, go onto a map, from the detailed battle map from the Battlefield Trust, and I'll be able to draw a straight line, and it'll go right to an exact battery. I'm like, oh, well, who would have known? That came from a mile and a half away, So
it's almost like you're practicing remote viewing to a degree.
Yep. It happens almost every day with something. it kind of gets old when I'm trying to sleep, and I'm like, okay, guys, like leave me alone. I'm trying to sleep. But the coolest story was when I first met Jamie, and he was wanting me to learn more about his time in the Civil War. And I had a very detailed dream about him at a camp in northern Alabama, and it was very wooded. It was tree lines. I saw a cemetery being, constructed. I could see the campfires. I could see soldiers, marching around and drill, and it just kind of seemed like odd in a way because I was kind of thinking like, am I at a hospital or am I at a camp? Like, what am I seeing here? I'm really confused. And he straight up told me like, while I was like having the dream, this was where I drilled at, and I was kind of like, but that doesn't make sense because I see a cemetery being dug, and I see like a camp. I was like, I thought this was a hospital, and all he did was tell me the name of it, and for whatever reason, it like stuck to my head that night. And when I woke up the next morning, I googled that name, and sure as shit, that was an actual camp where soldiers drilled in the early parts of the Civil War that was also used as a hospital and a cemetery.
That's amazing.
And I was just like, now what are the odds of that?
Right.
It's just like those are the stories where it's like you almost have to have it happen to you to really believe it. But like I know what I saw, and the fact I woke up and Googled it to find out it was real kind of made me go, now how do I skepticize this? How do I prove this not to be real when that literally just proved to me it's real? So it's like it's really hard to be a skeptic with what I can do because I try to like want to say, well, how do I know that's really real? How do I know that really happened? Whenever I have detailed notes of proof that what I saw actually happened.
Heck, I can't even hear human voices very well.
Yep. Yeah, and it's you'll never know. Like sometimes it'll be like right in your ear. Sometimes I'll just hear it in my head. Even sometimes like I'll hear them like like call out my name, and like when I like look up and focus to like that voice, I'll get drawn to a specific area. So even though I can't see them, I knew where it came from. It's wild whenever I'm at these museums in Gettysburg because I'll just be walking around and literally just randomly get drawn to some exhibit, and I'll be like looking at it and I'm like, one of you are attached to this, aren't you? And then it'll get like 30 degrees colder around it. I'm like, yeah, I kind of figured.
Can you do this at a distance? Like if one of us held up an object or something like that, could you focus on it, or could you focus on where we're living and pick up some kind of a apparition or spirit or something like that?
Yeah, I do that that's one of my favorite things to do. But it's like one of those things where like I had to like fully open myself up and like fully concentrate on it. It's not like one of my bullets where I can pick up and like instantly get like a flash vision. When it comes to pictures and stuff like that and reading people, like I had to have it like kind of like a one-on-one conversation and be very like focused in on it. And I only learned that could happen by like accident. Honestly, whenever I was really starting to get stronger and stronger with my abilities, my friend sent me a picture of a location they were going to and just said, what do you pick up on? And I was like, give me a second, I'll get back to you. And I started like tapping into the energy of the building, and one specific entity came out to talk to me, and it was a little girl who was around the age of 8 years old. And I heard the name Emily, and I could see her in a white dress, and she was like holding like a balloon or something. And I texted her, my friend, back, and I said, hey, just so you know, I'm getting communication from a little girl. She's telling me her name is Emily. I have no idea if this is even relevant or not, but this is what I'm picking up right now. And she ended up going to the ghost hunt and called me immediately after. And she goes, what did you say that girl's name was? I said, Emily. She goes, dude, shut the hell up. I was like, what? She goes, we just talked to the owner and found out a little girl named Emmeline, like Amaline, which sounds a lot like Emily, was killed in a fire back in the 1800s, and she was 9 years old. And I was like, ain't that something?
Wow.
like kind of almost like stupid luck, but at the same hand, like kind of like blew my mind that like I physically saw that from 6 hours away,
That's amazing.
That actually just goes to show how connected everything is. I don't really think distance mean anything. That's why when we talk about portals and things like that, I really don't think there's such thing as distance, because when I do remote viewing, it doesn't really matter how far away. It almost seems like you create a doorway and just kind of walk through it.
Yep. And it's very true. It's like kind of like I hate when I'm like when I open myself up, because it will bother me all night. Like if I have a friend that's on a ghost hunt that I'm really close with, and I'm like, I'll be nosy and tap in just to see like what they have going on. And if they're at somewhere that's not exactly safe, and I start picking up on something that's not safe, I'll be up all night long wondering what it is, what's going on, because I know it's a matter of time before that entity attacks. And I'll immediately, the second I pick up on anything, I'll text them and be like, "Hey, by the way, this is what I'm picking up on." And usually within 15 minutes, I'm getting a phone call saying, "How the hell did you know that happened to us?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I'm being nosy. Like I just decided to tap in." And they're like, "No, like I'm glad you said that, because we've been wondering like why the feeling was off all night, and now all of a sudden you randomly text us that." And I'm just like, "You're welcome, but sorry." It's
So
kinda like,
they got a feeling, like a really negative feeling.
yeah, like sometimes like someone will either be like attacked like in a mild aspect, like pushed or scratched, or hear a voice growling at them or something, or they'll just feel like the energy's really dark in a certain area. And
Right.
like not long after that happens is when I'll start picking up on that energy and like something happening to them. And then that's when I'll call them and be like, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" And then they tell me, and I'm like, that's odd.
Uh,
Yeah, and I'm getting the impression you kind of get that feeling like when you watch a horror movie, that climax feels that
You just
something's going to
know.
happen.
Yeah.
You don't know exactly what it is yet
Yeah.
specifically, but you have that wise feeling. That's what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's why
Yeah.
like it's kind of funny because like when I tell people like about my abilities, they're like, "Well, read me." I'm like, "You have to give me time to like reopen up, because I stay closed off a lot of times, because like my days, especially with work and what I do for work, like I had to stay focused and stuff. And when I'm at home, like I want to relax, so like I only open up when I have the time to. But like a lot of people I learned don't have the ability just to hit that off switch. It's usually constant for them. And
Yeah,
that's where like,
I
I
know
kind
the
of feel
feeling.
lucky to be able to, hit that off switch where I'm like still conscious to them. I know they're around, I feel them around, and they respect me, I respect them, and we're just living our lives, and that's that. But then there'll be times where like I'll see one of them in my living room if I get up to get a drink, in the middle of the night or whatever. And I'll just simply say, "Okay, I promise we'll talk tomorrow." And I'll sit down with my dowsing rods, my spirit box, my ovulus, whatever I need to use, and figure out what it is that they want to say.
I just see
And,
cats when I get up.
Yeah.
But
and
but
also too. I'm sorry.
go ahead, Paul.
Oh, okay. Shade Viking says that she has the gift too. So the same gift that you have, Sage. And also too, I forgot to mention when I wrote that story about all those cults in San Francisco, I got an A+ on my paper in my sociology class at Sacramento City College, and also too, I submitted the story to the Sacramento Bee and they published it.
Oh
So
well.
yeah, but I went through hell for that story. I went through some hell. Let me
I
tell
guess
you.
so. Um,
Little stupid side note. Whenever I was in middle school, we had to do a book report on a book that we never read before. And I'm slightly dyslexic. I don't really read books because like I can't focus on them. So I decided to do a little cheat sheet. I don't know if any of you guys know this. The book, The Killer Angels, they made the movie Gettysburg word for word on the book. And I didn't know that till I read the first chapter and realized the entire first chapter is word for the first quarter of the movie Gettysburg. So I went on a whim and did a whole book report without even reading the book and got 100%. Because I've
Oh,
seen the movie so many times, I memorized it from start to finish.
well, it's interesting that Dowser I mentioned, Tom Lethbridge, he defined he said a ghoul is a feeling of dread. An apparition, of course, a ghost is an apparition, but he's actually that definition kind of even filtered over into the original movie The Haunting from
Yep.
1962, and Colin Wilson thought that John Keel, when he went into the TNT area and he talks about this zone of fear, Keel thought it was ultrasonic waves or something. Wilson thought no. John Keel encountered a ghoul by the definition that Tom Lethbridge set up. So
Okay.
it's just really because sometimes people do get that negative feeling and they don't really see anything.
Yeah. It's funny because whenever I talk to my friends that are mediums too, they'll see soldiers, hanging around behind me whenever we're doing stuff like this, and I just
Yeah.
laugh because I know they're all curious to hell, and like how the five of us are talking through a screen right now. Um, but it's kind of funny when I have to explain to them because I have such a wide array, and I have I don't know if any of you guys even know this. I was adopted at birth, so I don't have any knowledge of my birth parents, my birth
Same
genealogy,
here.
or anything.
Do 23andMe or Ancestry.com.
Oh, I have a DNA kit sitting right here. Don't worry, I just haven't
good,
taken it yet.
And Sue, you didn't need to do the same thing.
But I
I
was
did.
told by a spirit team that I have a blood tie to five soldiers that fought in the Irish Brigade for the Union in the Civil War, and I've always known that I've had the Irish blood. Red comes out my beard quite heavily when I let it grow. So that's why I always try to wear Irish attire, hence why I'm wearing an Irish Brigade shirt from Gettysburg right now. But it's funny when I go to the battlefields that aren't even remotely close to the east. Like I went out to Mississippi and Tennessee and got to see some battlefields out there, and the ghosts just refer to me as the Irish boy. That's their wording for me because they know that I try not to stay partial to one side or the other as far as the history goes because I want to be open to both, all of them. And instead of saying like, "Oh, he's from the north" or "Oh, he favors the south," they just see me as the Irish boy, and I just think that's hilarious. That's how I was known in the spirit world for a very long time, apparently.
Because
How
that's
do you think they would
adorable.
react if you actually wore a uniform?
I would love to know because I actually did wear one once for a reenactment we did in middle school for a Civil War program.
Yeah.
I wore a full Union wool uniform. I would
Right.
love to show up to a battlefield like that, but I usually wear my kepi to the battlefields, for them.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, Ancestry.com, I submitted my DNA to Ancestry.com, and it blew me away. Um, I learned I was related to this one guy in New Zealand who was an airline pilot. So I got to talking to him, and I think he was like my third cousin. And then I was talking to this lady who was a biologist, and she was my second cousin. And then, oh, I, I I did an investigation in Covelo, which is a Indian reservation, Native American reservation, and we were the first paranormal group that ever went there. And I said, "Why did you pick our investigative team to come to this reservation?
Yeah.
And all these other people can't come, but you allowed us to come." And she goes, "Because you're Native American." I go, "No, I'm not." She goes, "You do not realize you are." I go, "What? No, I'm not." But I submitted my DNA to Ancestry.com. Come to find out, yes, I do have Native American blood in me.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and also too, I have Polynesian blood in me on my mother's side. So when I went to Tahiti, I went to Papeete, Tahiti. Everybody over there calls everybody cousin, and they would call me cousin, but they weren't calling these other tourists cousin. And they told me the same thing that I have Polynesian blood. Well, no, I don't. But when I did Ancestry.com, come to find out, I got Polynesian blood in me.
Yeah, the only thing that's been holding me off on doing it is curious I am to like my ancestry is more or less the finding out of who my biological parents are. And it's because it's like one of those things where I've gone 28 years without knowing, so why should I care now? But also the same note, it's kind of like I really want to know if these stories are true, if I'm related to these Civil War soldiers, like the spirit team claims to. So it's like kind of one of those double-edged swords where I know I have to find out the now to learn the past. And I wish there was a way that I could
I
ignore
didn't
the
find out
present.
who my parents are. I didn't find out who my parents are. The only thing I found out was that I'm mostly Korean and I have 1% Chinese and 1% Japanese. That's it.
Now, was that
So,
through 23andMe or what was?
yeah, 23andMe.
Yeah, because with the ancestry, they build your family tree for you based off of
Yeah.
your DNA.
Yeah, Ancestry.com, I got names and contacting people. Yeah, so I mean, I was kind of hesitant to doing Ancestry.com because I thought I was related.
I thought you had to have something for them to go off of.
That's
Your
if you
ancestry.
build like a family tree just like on your own, you had to put in like your parents, your grandparents, and if you know your great grandparents, just to get an accurate start for them to be able to pull accurate records based off of your
Yeah,
family.
but if you don't know, then
It's a lot harder. That it will take a little
yeah,
bit longer, but they do eventually put two and two together.
yeah.
It's actually kind of scary because I started tinkering with one and it pulled my mom's high school photo from her yearbook. And it was like, "Is this your mom?" And I was like, "That's kind of terrifying."
I was kind of hesitant in doing Ancestry.com because I thought I might be related to Donnie Cho.
Hmm.
Well, that would be something if we were related, huh, Donnie?
That would be funny.
Well,
Well, it's
my
all about
sister did a lot of genealogy research, and we found out that we came from a long line of people that weren't well known or had no money.
Hmm.
It's so funny because you have all these people, they're always related to someone famous. Why weren't you just related to like a janitor
Hey,
or
a young lady that is a co-host on my podcast, Susie Bastille. She is in New England area. She's related to everybody, presidents and people that ran for president, and she's even related to Hinckley, that guy that tried to kill Reagan,
oh my
and she's related to John Battle Newborough that channeled Owaspy, that big volume of channeled wisdom or whatever, and it's just amazing that the people she was related to. I'm not related to anybody that anybody knows.
Well, I do have one famous person. My last name's Roberts, and it looks like from everything that we see there, our Roberts name came from Wales, and we're related to Bartholomew Black Bart Roberts, the pirate.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
That's-
actually really cool.
and that's why every once in a while you might hear me go, "Arr."
His inner pirates coming out.
Oh my god! But God, tonight was a really good show. How much time we got there, Donnie?
Well, we're a little bit past 9, so
Okay.
yeah, this was a good show though.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
people in the chat were having fun.
definitely interesting.
And everybody on here is really good looking too. So I shot.
Oh yeah. I mean, you didn't get Danielle, you got me. Ah. So anyway,
Or
let's find out how people can contact you guys. Okay, so I'll start with Sue.
Well, I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I am on Facebook Messenger. You can contact me on there. If you want to email me, you can contact me at SueLightworker@gmail.com. That's SOOLIGHTWORKER @gmail. So,
Good. Donnie Cho, how can people reach you?
Just find me on my channel, Donnie Cho Says Stuff on YouTube. My content's there, and then you can just look me up on Facebook, Donnie Cho.
All right. Steve Ward, how can people reach you?
Type in Steve Ward, Point Pleasant on Facebook. You'll probably find me. You can locate me at the Mothman Museum on Saturday afternoons. I'll take your picture by the majestic statue. I also have a podcast called The High Strangeness Factor on the Paranormal UK radio network.
Fantastic. Sage, how can people reach you?
you can find me on Facebook just by searching my name, Sage Gatto. I'll pop up. You can reach me on there in Messenger. I'm on Instagram and TikTok under my ghost hunting paranormal page, Steel City Ghost Chasers. Quite is Pittsburgh, Steel City, then just Ghost Chasers will come up. I post a lot of history content on TikTok, but I try to tie it into a paranormal story in some form or fashion just so I don't bore everybody to death. But those are the main pages that I'm active on.
Sounds good. And if you want to reach me, just Google or Bing me, Paul Dale Roberts. You'll see some of my articles, and my articles have my phone number. It has the paranormal hotline on it. and you'll see my email address, everything else. If you want to see some of my books, Paul Dale Roberts books, and those will pop up. Thank you, everybody. You guys were wonderful, great stories. I learned a lot tonight. So, yeah, this is great.
And Paul, if you mind, if I add
Thanks.
one more thing,
Yeah.
if anybody has any form of passion for history, like I do with the battlefields and everything with the anniversary of Gettysburg coming up, I highly recommend you researching and looking into the American Battlefield Trust, as they do preservation work on not only the American Civil War but our Indian Wars and American Revolution battlefields too. And just $1 donation to them will go a long way, as they preserved over 200 battlefields now across America. So if anybody has any passions, I highly recommend looking them up.
All right. What's their name again?
The
Just one
American
more time.
Battlefield Trust.
American Battlefield Trust.
Yeah, they have a
Okay.
YouTube page and Facebook page, and they're always posting videos and content on the battles to bring back remembrance on the anniversaries. They have actually very detailed battlefield maps of the line of battles and everything from a lot of the battles too. They're a very great resource to learn from, let alone to help save history.
So they want to preserve all the battlefields, correct?
Yeah, they're especially in Franklin and some of these other battlefields that are have very little preserved of them. They're actually buying land on the battlefields and preserving them back to wartime appearance.
Okay.
All right.
If there's any money left over, tell them to go ahead and fix that reflective pool over at Washington, D.C.
Yep. They need to get on top of that. I agree.
All right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys, everyone. Thank you for everyone tuning in. And yeah, we'll call it a night.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank
all.
you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Born from shadow, sealed in truth, ancient blood, but faith rooted proof. History whispers, legend.